Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regularly scheduled Cpic meeting. I'm seeing people just joining in now, and we'll wait until we're given the green light for when we're. Oh, there we go. Streaming will start in 1 minute, and I'm just going to check attendance here, make sure we have our parent members in attendance. And as yet, I don't believe we have quorum. I'm sorry, who is M. Del Sordo?
Good evening. I'm one of the superintendents for Family of Schools with Corpus Christi.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so far I'm seeing Jen, Kevin. Here comes Laura.
We had regrets from Violetta, Jerry, as well.
Pardon me?
We had regrets from Violetta. Violetta will not be joining.
Yeah, I got regrets from Violetta. Yes, that's fine. Thank you, Andrea. All right, we'll give this another moment or two and see if we can. We need, of course, 6 parent members in order to have quorum. So far, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I believe we're sitting at 5. We need 1 more, so we'll give it another moment. Actually, in fact, I think I'm only seeing 4 parent members. just going to call out, if I miss you and you're here as a parent member, please let me know. So myself, Kevin, Laura, and Jen.
Alex.
Laura's here.
I'm sorry, Laura, did I miss you?
Yeah, I'm here, Jerry.
Yeah, okay. So sorry. So we've got Jen, Laura, Kevin, and myself.
And Alex.
Yeah, Alex,
And
no, I see you here, Alex, as well. However, you sit in the community rep position, of course. Yeah, and so we need in order to have quorum, we need a majority of parent members. So we're short too. We're at 7:04. I believe we can get underway. And if when we get to anything of a decision-making nature, depending on if we have quorum or not at that point, I think we'll dictate what we can or can't do in terms of making decisions. But I would suggest we get started. Any concerns or issues around that from anyone? Okay, very well. Let's get started then. Again, welcome and thank you all for attending tonight. And we'll open with opening prayer and the land acknowledgements. And Vince, if you could lead us, please.
Thanks, Jerry. Good evening and good evening, everyone. Just seeing how it's Black History Month, and February can be a tough month, tough time of year for a lot of people, and we're seeing a lot of tensions boiling over as we progress and almost hit the 2-year mark of this pandemic. I thought it'd be appropriate to start with a prayer for unity. So if you can please join me in the center of our faith. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. God of love and justice, St. Paul proclaimed, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." May we be emboldened by your loving word to rid the world of the sin of discrimination in our attitudes and actions. Help us to seek the unity that Paul saw so clearly, so that all forms of injustice will cease. Grant us the courage and determination to be prophets of peace. May we welcome one another as brothers and sisters, rooted in your everlasting love. Amen. St. Dominic, pray for us. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Ham thần như chúng ta biết ngày nay.
मुतअद्दिद औलीन इकवाम और मतीस की तारीख और जदीद रवायात से मालामाल है.
ये ज़मीन जो पानी के आसपास है.
Ay napuno ng kasaysayan ng katutubo.
当我们今天聚集在这些条约土地上时，
Nossos ensinamentos sociais católicos nos chamam de solidariedade aos nossos irmãos e irmãs indígenas.
honrar y respetar las 4 direcciones: art, النباتات, المياه, الحيوانات.
At mga ninuno na nauna sa amin.
存在着这些所有奇妙的创造要素。
Ito ay regalo sa atin ng ating Panginoong Diyos na lumikha.
हम क्रेडिट फर्स्ट नेशन के मिसिसागा को तस्लीम करते हैं और उनका शुक्रिया अदा करते हैं।
इस रिवायती खेतर दे मुख्तियार होने ਲਈ
Terrific, thank you. So my first time seeing that that version of the land acknowledgement. Very nicely done. Thank you for doing that for us, Andrea. Okay. All right. Well, as I don't believe we have still don't have quorums yet. I see Jordan did join in. So 1 second here, folks, while I just take a tally again. 1. I'm seeing 5, so we're short by 1 for quorum. So I guess we can't really approve our agenda or minutes. I guess we'll be proceeding at this point and treating this meeting as an information sharing and update meeting. So again, as and when we get to items for decision, we'll revisit if we have quorum at that point. Okay, we'll proceed. We'll go straight to our board update. Let's see.
Thanks, Jerry. Jerry, I think we need to review the bylaw. Just if we don't have quorum, can we run the meeting tonight?
I believe we can, similar to how we would do it for a school council. It would be for informational purposes. We could still have, I think we can still have some of the discussions and sharing of updates and whatnot. But obviously there'd be no decision making or voting of any kind.
Are the minutes valid?
That's a good question. That I don't know.
And because it's live streamed, Jerry, like I think that's where the concern is, right?
I don't see how that matters. We'll have the meeting for the benefit of the people who are present. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't see why we can't proceed with. There's a number of updates to be shared. The members that are absent obviously can go back and at least view the recording after the fact, so they can get back up to date. So I just, there's quite a bit on there. I'd hate to just cast it aside and have to reschedule.
I'm fine with that. Okay, are we in agreement? We continue? Okay.
Yeah, well, we can't vote on it, so yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we proceed purely as informational purposes at this point, everybody.
And we do, one of the main things that we need to do tonight is review for a council chair setting up for next week. And that's important that we have that discussion around that. Okay.
Yeah, indeed. Mm.
Okay. Okay, I will do the board update from senior staff. So throughout the board right now, we are celebrating Black History Month, highlighting the stories and accomplishments of excellence by many Black women and men throughout our Canadian history. Many of our schools have special guests and parents doing presentations within the school community. And throughout our curricular program, there is a great emphasis using the theme of Black History Month through our reading, writing, music, drama, oral communication projects, and different arts with the students. And it's wonderful to see all the great work that is being done in our schools. Throughout the schools, both elementary and secondary, we continue to maintain a series of protocols for COVID-19 in our schools so that it is safe for staff and students, including using the daily screener that the Ministry of Education and Health have provided, masking, hand washing, and maintaining social distancing. We'd like to thank all our parents for supporting us in our efforts to keep our schools safe for staff and students. All students were provided with those 2 cloth masks and the 2 rapid antigen tests when we return to in-person learning. Parents can inquire with their school administrator if additional RAT tests are needed if a child's been home for a period of time. As per the direction from the Ministry of Education, consent forms will be sent home for the in-school vaccination program for children from ages 6 to 11. We do not have any vaccine clinics set up at our schools at this point in time and waiting further direction from the Ministry of Education on this. This will be completely voluntary for parents to participate with their children in having the vaccine at the school site. Additional information will be shared with parents as it becomes available. Currently, we have 90% of our 12 to 17-year-olds who have received their second vaccine. And our 5 to 11-year-olds, 68% of them have received their first vaccine. We are thrilled today to begin our second semester for our secondary students, where they have returned to a traditional semester with 4 courses with a modified lunch schedule in some of our schools that we needed to establish to maintain the health and safety protocols within our high school setting, especially in those larger high schools. Quad 2 final grades will be sent home to parents on February 14th. And students will begin to do their course selection for September 2022. Registration is taking place right now for our IB program and our AP programs at both our high school, at several of our high schools. Through the guidance of Halton Public Health and the Ministry of Education, we are cautious with our high impact sports in the school setting, and we're looking to begin practicing for volleyball and basketball with a plan to begin a modified competitive program in the weeks ahead. Our elementary students have continued with their in-person learning following cohorting at recess time and throughout their school day. Many regular cohorted activities are taking place throughout each day to engage our students in their learning, their spiritual development, and their social and emotional well-being. And there's wonderful activities taking place at all of our schools right now. St. Clair of Assisi, our virtual school, currently has 1,240 students participating in virtual learning and continuing to do a variety of different activities. And parents will have an opportunity, those who are attending St. Clair, if they choose to return to face-to-face learning, the survey will be going out at the end of March. Teachers in elementary are completing their term reports, and report cards will be sent home to parents on Thursday, February 17th. And in the elementary setting, some extracurriculars are running within a cohort, and we hope that we too will be able to move to volleyball practices at the elementary level with some form of the inter-school program resuming. The schools are getting ready for their Lenten outreach. The kickoff is usually on Ash Wednesday on March 2nd. And sacramental prep and planning is well underway. It's wonderful to see all the churches reaching out to the schools to ensure the students are ready and prepared for when they will receive their sacraments in the spring. Students and staff attendance is monitored daily and reported to the Ministry of Education, and parents have access to this information. We currently have not had any of our schools reporting absenteeism higher than 20% or even close to 20%. We are currently receiving our kindergarten registrations for September, and we have over 1,100 new students registered for our schools for September. And we also have our grade 1 French immersion registration program open right now. And so students whose parents register them for early French immersion, the grade 1 program, by February 18th, all of those students will have a placement in our program. As we have heard through media, staff shortages continue with daily screening requirements and isolation periods. In the event of staff shortages, school admin will communicate with parents and how that staff shortage may impact the school environment for your students. Are there any questions?
Nancy, sorry, just on, and I'm sorry, I apologize if I missed it, just on the bringing back of intramural and inter-school sport, what does the timeline look like on that?
Jerry, we were hoping sooner than later, but we're still waiting direction from Halton Public Health with the Ministry of Education. So they haven't said, even though it's not aligned to what's happening in the community, they haven't given us clear direction that we can start all of those. It's there at the table. We just haven't been given that direction. So we're doing our planning from sort of behind the scenes. We can start practicing, but a competitive program cannot start at this time.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Jen, go ahead.
Nancy, I'm just wondering, are volleyball and basketball the only sports right now? I'm just thinking further ahead, like in another month or so, generally soccer would get started up at the high school level, and some of the other sports are outdoors.
Jen and Jerry, to that question, our goal is to get our extracurricular program back up and running. We need to get that direction through the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Public Health, Halton Public Health. Our goal is to start with the volleyball and basketball, where that season would be continuing right now, with the goal that by the springtime, we'll be able to do all those other things like we did in the fall, the outdoor sports that would happen. So what the lineup for the spring would be, traditionally would be the soccer programs, track and field, cross country, and soccer, okay? That's a lot for a system that hasn't had that much of those activities, but our goal is to get as many of those activities up and running when we can come to spring.
Sorry, I had a couple more questions, Nancy. I'm
Sure.
presuming that there's no guidance right now on any kind of any kind of trips for the school. We can't do anything like that yet, right?
Not yet, not yet.
And those COVID screenings that the kids are doing every day, do you have any idea, is that intended to be kind of like for the rest of the year, or is there, I kind of initially thought it was gonna be the first couple of weeks back that they were just doing, but it seems to be continuing on.
So because of how the screening tool is putting a lot of onus back on individuals and families to monitor, right? So that's why that's in place. Whereas the way they had it before set up, it was like we did it for 2 weeks and then we ended it, right? So they really want people to take ownership for maintaining, like if you're not well and somebody in your family is not well, don't come to school and you shouldn't be at work, right? So that everybody can stay healthy. So right now they haven't, they've continued it. Actually, the screener just was updated on Friday. Okay, so if you went into the screener this morning, you'll notice it was a little bit different. So that's the direction we're getting from the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health to do that screener. And we need to encourage parents and staff to be doing it every day.
Okay, and lastly, I was just curious because I think the high school kids had to choose if they were going back to in class or virtual, what those numbers look like right now. At the elementary, I think they still have a couple more weeks to decide, right? Just high schools that had to make the decision.
That right, because of the change, because of the switch to the full semester. So the students had to choose whether they're going to be an in-person learning or a virtual learner. And if at some point a student has to switch that learning environment, it should be one movement. So if they are in-person learning, they need to go virtual, then they stay that way.
Right.
Before it was to the end of a quad, but now you're choosing to the end of the semester.
Right. And how much percentage of secondary kids are doing the virtual versus in person?
I don't have the exact number. It is definitely higher in our at Bishop Redding and at St. Francis Xavier. Part of it is because the schools are larger, but I don't think we have more than 20% doing virtual across the system in secondary.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Any more questions for Nancy? Nope. Okay. Yes, you're off the hook.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your report. All right. Chairman Duarte, welcome as always. Thank you. And yeah, please go ahead with your report.
Hi, everybody. Good to be back, and thanks, Jerry. A little bit of what's happening at the board. I'm on my tablet right now, so trying to adjust it. So give me a second. Okay, a little bit of what's happening at the board. Since the last Cpic meeting on Jan 10th, trustees have had 2 board meetings. At the Jan 18th board meeting, there were 8 delegations on the notice of motion strengthening community relationships. All of them were accepted as information. There was an action item on strengthening community relationships. The motion called for a staff report on all 2S LGBTQ+ training initiatives done in 2022 in partnership with community organizations. Also, at the next step in supporting our diverse school communities, that the pride flag be flown through the month of June at all schools and at the CEC. The motion passed, and it's going to be implemented from this year onwards. At the February 1st board meeting, there was an action item on express parental consent. The motion talked about about express parental consent for the upcoming student census, which is planned for the spring of 2022 for the secondary panel. And this motion did not pass. Other notable policies that passed were Policy I-43, use of technology and digital citizenship, and Policy V-15, environmental stewardship. These are some policies that were reviewed. Board bylaws are in the process of being reviewed. Just like our bylaws here at Cpic, they need to be reviewed, and a committee has been struck, and its terms of reference were approved at the last board meeting. Staff presented their report on advanced placement and the IB program, which came about a motion in a previous meeting, and it has great interest, and there were good discussions held at the board table. There is an upcoming notice of motion for the AP and IB program at the next board meeting. And that's all I have, Chair Jerry, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
All right. Yeah. Any questions for Marvin?
I like these information meetings.
Yeah, it looks like you're getting off light.
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Marvin. All right. All right. Yeah, Andrea, if we could come back to the agenda, please. Thank you. Okay, on to our OAPSI update. I believe I saw Denise. Yes, hi, Denise. Please take it away.
Everyone. Okay, so in terms of OAPSI, a couple of updates here. One, at our January 22nd Board of Directors meeting, we welcomed a new director from Toronto. At that meeting, I also was appointed to the position of secretary in the executive of OAPSI. Our upcoming BOD, the next one, will be Thursday, February 17th at 7 p.m. And there'll be quite a number of items to discuss. One of them is that OAPSI is part of an ongoing consultation with the Ministry of Education with regards to the Learning Recovery Plan. And OAPSI has made quite an impact in the last several years in their working tables with the Ministry of Education, adding items and bringing concerns forward. So the Board of Directors has been asked OAPSI has been asked to provide feedback on the following. And these questions are just a few, but the reason I'm kind of going over them is that this, the decision from OAPSI was that these questions are going to be sent out to all of the OAPSI reps across the province in terms of the different boards that participate in OAPSI, to also give parental input into these questions based on what the Ministry of Education has asked OAPSI to do, and that feedback will be then sent to the Ministry of Education as requested. So some of the following questions, I won't read through all of them, but that our OAPSI reps will be receiving would be things like, is there anything Ontario should change about the Ontario Secondary School Diploma requirements? How should the ministry use experiential learning and other modernized learning approaches to build the entrepreneurial and other transferable skills students need in our rapidly changing world? What senior level course types are needed to best prepare students for all post-secondary pathways? What criteria should the ministry consider when reviewing curriculum for revision? How often should curriculum be reviewed? There will also be consultation as part of the feedback that has been requested from OAPSI for the online learning graduate requirement. So OAPSI will be going to the table as well with the Ministry of Education to discuss that. And our Executive Director, Annalisa Crudo-Perry, is also advocating at that working table with the Ministry of Education for a 5th gap year to be brought back for students interested in studying for a year after grade 12. Currently, the Ministry of Education, from my understanding from her report that we received, does not provide full funding for returning students. So OAPSI has a position right now of advocating for this because of lost learning during the pandemic and perhaps apparent interest in furthering this with the Ministry of Education. So that's my report. I am looking forward to our OAPSI reps being invited to the Council of Chairs because that is my forum in terms of being able to relate some of this information to them. They will have already received, I believe, the Google form that will be sent out because it's she needs the required feedback, I think, prior to our meeting. I'm not certain 100% on that, but that's what I believe her last messaging was. So that's it from my report. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Denise, as always, for your thorough and complete report. Any questions for Denise? I have a question for you, Denise. Just further to your comments on exploring the possibility of bringing back a 5th year for secondary. So how far? It's first I've heard of that. That's quite something to be looked at. How far in the process is that? Is just highly preliminary, or have there been discussions going on for some time? Or
I know she's been working on this for a while. in terms of advocating. I believe that's one of the agenda items that will be coming up at our BOD on the 17th. But she has put it down as part of something that she's working towards. So I don't have any any other information except for the fact that she's advocating on behalf of OAPSE for it. But I'm sure there'll be more fruitful discussions at that board of directors to hear from the other directors in the province. I haven't had any inputs, the first that I've seen it. But I guess that what it was, it is, there was looking at just some preliminary feedback from the directors around the province. Besides the fact that there might be a concern about lost learning and a need to have that year available, but a lot of directors were felt strongly about co-op and the opportunities for students to participate in co-op placements. I know there's co-op within the schools. I think it was the opportunity after grade 12 to have, if you wish to have what was called a gap year, to be able to do that. And I suppose there's the tie-in for full funding. So I guess that's where we're at. But again, I don't have the actual specifics on it. That's just sort of the preliminary information that I received.
Okay, fair enough. No, thanks for that, Denise. I look forward to hearing more on that. Yeah. And do we know, and I don't know if Nancy or Pat, if you can comment on it, has there been any discussions about that at a board level, or at the ministry that you're aware of? So kind of anything from a broader base at this point? Yeah, Nancy or Pat?
I'll let Pat go for that, and then.
Not really, Jerry, and I think Denise was right on when she talked about the funding implications, which I would guess would be difficulty both from a board perspective and also from a ministry perspective to fund that additional year. Certainly, when we went from the 5-year program to the 4-year program, part of the rationale, but not the complete rationale, was we were kind of the one holdout province that still had grade 13. And certainly there's nothing that stops a student from coming back for an extra semester or an extra year under the current the current guidelines. I haven't heard anything from the ministry about looking at reinstituting a full 5-year program.
Okay, very well. All right, well, it'll be interesting to see where those discussions go then. Thanks for that, Pat. Alex, go ahead.
Yes, Denise, I just had a question. So you said that OAPSE is trying to send to all the OAPSE reps, but what way do the parents' input could count at the Ministry of Education? And is something that as Civic we could do in order to support that idea or to present what the community says? Like I was just trying to get a little more information if there's anything in Civic that we can do regarding that issue.
Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that. Because I did see that question pop up amongst the discussion on the board at the board of directors, just through the chat and things that I see. So I think that's probably because someone did have the same question about what about parents that are not OAPSE reps? Is there a possibility of having their voice being heard? And I don't have an answer for that right now. I'm not sure. I know this has just come through OAPSE being able to be sitting at that working table as a parent voice, and so I think that's the initiative was taken by OAPSE to have that sent out to the reps to get more than just a board of directors perspective, from what I understand. So yeah, I don't have an answer for that, Alex. Actually, I can't answer that for how that would work, but I know it's come up. So going from there, I don't know in terms of Cpic or PICs around the province, whether there's more opportunity for more parents. But if I do find out something, I'll certainly send it through. That's for sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. Any more questions for Denise? Okay, very well. Thank you again, Denise. All right, moving on to our Cpic subcommittees. And we have, so first up, School Council Support Committee. Laura Tiana's not here. Are you able to provide us an update?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
So the team's been tasked with a number of different deliverables. So bear with us. We have we have a lot to work on the committee, but just for everybody's perspective, there's sort of three key elements, I would say, to what the team is working on. One of them being the School Council Handbook, which just turned out to be a bit more of a daunting project than we initially thought, but we are sort of 3/4 of the way there. The second being the School Council resource page, which is going to take a bit more of an involved effort with the board because they'll have to help us build it from a web page standpoint. But we do have some sort of laid out a bit of a framework for it. So it's just been parked a little bit due to the work we're still doing on the handbook. And then thirdly, we've been tasked with developing that whole social media plan and revamping a bit of the Cpic website or the landing page from the board site. So those are sort of the three key things. Update on the handbook itself. As I said, we're about 3/4 of the way there. We're just trying to get, just fine tune a little bit of the language within it. We're sort of condensing it from 24 pages down to about 10. So the other key thing there is sort of revamping what I think it was originally intended to be. It sort of was presented more of a training guide of sorts, but we really want it to just be a resource guideline, truly a handbook. Just this is what school councils are tasked to do, and just a bit more of a resource. So we're, as I said, we're almost there, and we should have over the next 2 weeks all of that ironed out so we can present it back. So that is coming. Again, the resource page, we're kind of waiting to finish off the handbook stuff before we start on that. And as far as the social media plan goes, Vince and I have been working on that sort of as a subcommittee. And what I've done at this point is sort of a draft of the plan for this term and into next. Basically just, what the social media platform is going to look like, how we're going to, which platforms we're going to use, what kind of content we're going to cover, who's going to administer the site. So all of those elements have been built into a draft, and the team will be meeting on it in the next 2 weeks just to review it, put in a plan collectively, and then present it back. So come the next Cpic meeting, we should have at least a draft of what the proposed social media plan looks like. So I'll leave it at that if anybody has any questions.
All right, thanks, Laura. Yeah, any questions for Laura? I've got one for you, Laura. Just in terms of the various platforms, and I had sent a note some time ago about it in terms of connecting with Joel McLeod. He was the previous keeper of our Facebook account, Twitter, and Instagram, I believe, are the three.
Yep.
And have those all been taken over now, and they're someone's got those in hand?
Nobody on our subcommittee as of yet has control, let's call it. It still sits, I think, with Joel and some of those folks, but we met, Vince and I met with Andrea Swindon and her team at the board level. So they gave us a bit of direction in terms of, we tossed around some ideas of how we want the next administrator of those sites to manage it, whether it's the entire subcommittee has access to it and we all take turns, or whether we have one administrator just to manage it. It's a bit more streamlined that way. So those are the two options, but we haven't sort of passed the baton at this point, let's call it. We're just trying to get a solid plan in place before we take over that. But again, we have started the discussion just to talk about the options and what's the best approach. And they did give us some feedback, and they'll continue to give us some feedback in terms of which platforms we think we should use more moving forward. They have collected some analytical data on, click-through rates and which platforms are most effective with what type of demographic groups. do parents prefer Facebook over Instagram and those type of discussions. So they'll be sharing some of that data so we can build a bit of a more targeted plan for it.
Sure, that makes sense. Just though, I don't know, it concerns me a little bit that we don't have control over our own existing accounts on those platforms. I just wonder if it isn't prudent that we just,
take over
yeah,
ownership.
Yeah, whomever, someone on Cpic, someone at the board.
Fair enough.
Yeah, get those credentials back, change the passwords, and
I will.
I think they're in good hands with Joel. However, he's no longer part of the committee.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I will actually connect with Andrea and just get the details on that, and at least we can control it. We might not do anything with it in the next little bit, but we'll certainly do that. So yes, fair enough point.
Yeah, and then I don't know who's clearly we've not been posting to it.
No.
But and I don't know if anyone could be in posting to it in the back door somehow, or commenting to our Facebook page, that kind of thing. So just for a little bit of oversight as well.
Yep. No, fair enough.
Just to make sure nothing untoward is going on.
That's right. I'll reach out to Andrea tomorrow and get the credentials, and then just take a look at what's there, if just as a spot check to make sure.
Yeah,
exactly. Posts
just keep an eye on it until you have your strategy. And okay.
Yep. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Alex.
Hi, can you hear me?
There you go.
Yes.
Yep.
So first of all, I want to thank that committee. It's really exciting to know that things are moving in this direction. And I just wanted to mention that it would be great if at some point we could connect with the plan that we've developed in our subcommittee that is going to come next, because we also have a lot of ideas that maybe, like both subcommittees together can make it really a good synergy, and we can make it really work well for all the parents. We're also very excited to know that, like this social media is going to start working in favor of the parents. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, to give thanks, and just if we can connect at some point, it will be awesome.
That's great. Thanks, Alex, for sure. Well, maybe you and I can connect offline, and you and I can coordinate the teams to set up a call perhaps, and we can go through everything.
Yeah, that would be great.
Sorry, Laura, I think you got cut.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, you just got cut off at the end there.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, Alex, let's connect offline. We can just get the two committees together for a call at some point, and we can just share each other's ideas and see if there's some commonalities, and we can pull it all together.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Great, thank you.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, I just echo Alex's comments. That sounds like there's some great work underway there. So well done. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And thanks to the other members. All right, on to Parent Community Engagement Committee, Alex.
Okay, so I had a PowerPoint presentation that I wasn't sure if I had sent it to Andrea. If she at some point can put it on the screen, that would be great. Otherwise, I will just follow up. So our subcommittee met, our last meeting was January the 19th, and we were working in 5 or 6 action items that we're hoping that we can finalize in the next month. So let me just go. So for the first, sorry, give me a second. Yes, so just to give a little bit of an update. So our first action item was the faith formation available for parents, and Bishop Lobsinger, Reverend Bishop Lobsinger had an Advent talk on bringing Christ into our homes this Christmas. And Civic invited the parents to attend the live presentation and to replay at their convenience. So far, we have 358 views. We had, and we'll make this document available for everybody, we had the feedback from the parents regarding the session, and we're looking forward to continue working with him and with the diocese to get more faith formation for the parents. Our item number 2 is select webinars and apply for grants. So far we have secured Sarah Westbrook as our guest speaker for an emotional well-being series. With this, we propose using the Civic funds available to cover the cost of 3 live presentations with Sarah, which would be one in March, one in May, and one in June. Those 3 presentations are emotional well-being. The first one and the last one are for parents. The one that we have in May is called Bounce Back Families, and we for parents and their children. Both of them can participate. So we hope this can be a way to engage the parents, and having a series, you know, give the opportunity of the parents to really follow up with this well-being series. Sarah's presentations cannot be recorded, but she will make resources available for the parent community that we hope we can put through the Cpic link. So that is our item number 2. Item number 3 is the parent-to-parent survey. And at some point in the last month, we sent a draft of the questions that we were trying to organize and achieve. So the goal of this parent survey is really to try to understand how the parents are perceiving the engagement at their schools. And we want to get to the core of the parents, not only go to the parents that are in their school councils, but what every parent feels parent engagement is for them. So what we're trying to do here is to know the demographics of our parent community. So we want to establish which parents have children in JKSK, elementary, high school, and what is their perspective regarding the governance, accessibility, openness, participation, and vision of the future. I had the opportunity to talk with Trustee Agnew, who had in mind a survey for the school councils. And she gave me a lot of information at that time that we're trying to put together in the committee to see how we can make this initiative a really, I don't want to say juicy one, but something that really can get all the information that we need from the parents. We really regarding the way that the parents are feeling, especially now, how parent engagement has been affected and the changes that we're seeing over time with the pandemic. So this is a work in progress. Really what we need to do is to narrow down the questions in our subcommittee that will have a meeting in the next month. And then if we can get together with Andrea and Nancy and just figure out the way and the timeline, right? So this this survey does not affect any other of the surveys or activities that the board is doing with parents, and we don't overwhelm them. So this is a work in progress, but we are very happy to find that we're being able to structure something, and we'll give you an update in our next Cpic meeting. This is item number 4. So this one is availability of parent resources. In our meeting, many of the members of our subcommittee are part of subcommittees and the board, and we find there's a lot of information that the board directives like the chaplain and other people can share with the parents. So Violeta sent today, I don't have it at hand, it's a kind of a timeline where we're trying to establish what other presentations that would have no cost for Cpic we would be able to schedule in the next 3 or 4 months for the parents. And that's exciting to know that not all the resources have to be paid. One of the resources that I think Violeta had the opportunity to explore was a series that is being done at the diocese for families and for parents. So we're just in the process of knowing how we can add these to make it available for the parents through the Cpic page. And also, that is one of the questions that we had, is if we are looking for funding for the following year, for the school year of 2022-2023, is there a need to apply to a new grant so we can have that funding? So I don't know if Nancy or Pat, if you can give us some guidance on that, so we can start preparing, so we can, in this timeline that we're doing for this year, we can extend it for 2 years and then make sure that when September starts, there's no disconnect, but there's something planned already for if there's new members of Civic, or we want to, or the same members, we can continue with the same path of engaging the parents in a certain way.
Alex, I think Nancy has her hand up to answer that for you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, my screen is so small, I didn't see that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for your subcommittee and all the work that you've done and some great events that you're planning to do some parent engagement with Cpic. We will get the pro grant is how the funding is for what you have just proposed, okay? So with what you proposed this year, we have more than enough money. And the new pro grant, which we will get the money in September for, it'll just continue. So you continue to do your planning, and then I'll adjust the budget to how much Cpic gets, so that there's enough funding for this, okay? So you're good to keep planning. If you plan, like this year you have $3,500, so I would say to you for next year, try to keep it around the same, because you will have that amount of money. Is that good?
Yeah, that sounds great. I just got a hold of the timeline that Violeta sent, and I think what we're trying to do is exactly that, like to have some events that are paid, that are like we pay the presenters and we can do them, but also have a good balance between other things that we can offer to the parents. And we hope we can work with the board, with all the superintendents or whatever committees we can get a hold of, to bring that same information that is given to the to the students and to the teachers. What is the parental piece that we can have, that we can provide it to the parents through Civic. So it's exciting to know that we're getting there, because I think the parents more than ever, and that was one of the things that we were saying, now with the pandemic, I think this is a great moment to really engage our parents in a new way. And well, anything that we can do this year to help ease the burdens of the families and help with their well-being is really our objective. So this is this item. Let me go to item 5. Okay, item 5, we had a little bit of a discussion on our subcommittee meeting, and this came from some memories that I had from 2018, where Cpic had something called the Civic Parent Awards. The awards at that time were presented annually and provided an opportunity to the schools in our board to formally acknowledge and celebrate volunteers who exemplified parent involvement within our schools. So it is a little bit different from any other awards that OAPSI or the Ministry of Education or some other entities external from the Halton board were giving. These ones would select one winner of each of the regions, either Burlington, Milton, Oakville, or Halton Hills, and it had a criteria. The criteria was mainly communication, collaborating with our communities, and exemplifying Catholicity. And what it was looking is really to go and look for those parents that really are, they work on the ground. They're not expecting to be recognized. They just do it, because they love their school, because they're helping the children. But we want to, especially in these times where it is so hard to understand how we can engage at the schools, well, to recognize those efforts that they're doing. So we were trying to set like a tentative, like a timeline. If we were to do the awards, how would we do it? So we would be working on a piece of communication that we could send to the school councils and to the schools in advance, probably to send them before March the 16th. And invite them to participate. If we did the awards, from March the 16th to April 20th, we will be accepting nominations. Then we will have a couple of weeks to see those nominations, and the Civic members would be the ones to select. How it was set before is you could, if you're a Civic member and you are from Milton, you could not vote for the parents in Milton. So it's a little bit of a tricky way of voting. So the other areas would be voting for Milton. If you're in Oakville, you wouldn't vote for the people in Oakville, you would vote for the other ones. And our idea was to present it at the May Council of Chairs. But I wasn't sure. I think in one of the communications that we received this week, it says that our last Council of Chairs was in April. So I was a little bit confused with that. I have to be honest, I didn't have the calendar at hand. So maybe we can see what happens there. And the idea would be that, like that with the funds that we still have, we could order 4 Civic awards in advance, cover the cost of the awards, and get these parent awards going so we can recognize those parents in the community that are really making a difference in these times. I don't know if there's any questions regarding this issue.
Yeah, Nancy's got her hand up. Go ahead, Nancy.
Thank you, Alex. And Alex, the Cpic Parent Awards is a great thing to recognize our parents and the parents that are doing, like you said, a lot of work and maybe aren't recognized. I remember when we were giving the awards. Can you clarify for me, is it so there's 3 award titles? Is it 3 awards, like one for communication, one for collaboration, and one for exemplifying Catholicity? Or is it the whole award is one award that recognizes the individuals for that, and then you want one from Oakville, one from Burlington, one from Halton Hills, and one from Milton?
Yes, so it's one award, and
Okay.
we take the 3 criteria in account. So it will be the communication, the collaboration, and the exemplifies Catholicity. And then at the end, we would get 4 awards, one for one parent in Burlington, one parent in Milton, one in Oakville, and Halton Hills. That would be what we were hoping we could do, and we would really try to get in contact with all of you at the board to see if we can bring back the same awards that we had before, and just make this an annual recognition event for our parents.
Alex, I think it's a great idea, and I don't see any reason why we couldn't do this. One thing is, you said that we don't have a May meeting. We do have a May meeting. This year, we actually put 4 council chairs meetings. We're going to talk later in the agenda that we may not need to do the April one, but we will have one in May, so we could still continue with that. Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to say these are the kind of things that it's great to have the subcommittees, because we could talk in depth what we were thinking about this, and it took us a little time to get it ready, but I think we're in a good path to really not only recognize the parents, but provide to them a lot of information that I think is what this pandemic, has made us realize, that if we cannot connect in person, maybe through different ways, we can connect with the parents anyway.
And I can ensure that we have the financial backing to present, get the awards, whatever it is that you are choosing for the award. If it's a plaque, if it's a book, whatever it is that you want to present, I can cover that through my office. Okay.
Great, Nancy. Thank you. So we'll just keep in touch. I know we need at least 4 or 5 weeks to get everything ready. So we're really looking forward to get a meeting this February, probably the earlier the better, so we can get back to you with more information, with all the information that we need. And maybe the last time that the awards were done, the new Cpic logo and image wasn't there. So maybe we need a couple of someone to help us out, so we make them really, really nice and in accordance to the new image of Civic that we have.
Sounds great, Alex. You've got my support, okay?
Thank you. Okay, item number 6. Yeah, so this was an item that we had from before that would be trying to get a Lenten retreat with Father Stefano Pena. To be honest, we haven't got onto that, so I'll give you we'll give you an update once we get there. I just want to thank all the parents in the committee, because I think we're moving forward into a great direction, right? Where we can really promote in a very effective way the parent engagement. So we're really excited to see that this year we can get a couple of things done and get to the parents in the best way that we can, so they feel, you know, like Civic is always there, open for them, and we have a lot of opportunities to engage with them in the future. That's all for me.
That's all, Alex? Really? Just kidding. My goodness, that's terrific.
Yeah, sorry. I tried to make it as short as I could.
Oh, you were considering what you had to cover there. That was very very well done. Thank you for that, and thanks to the subcommittee for all their hard work and putting a lot of time and thought into all of those items. So, any questions for Alex on any of those items? Bearing in mind that we actually still have a discussion item coming up around the parent survey, so we can park discussion around that one for the moment. But any of the other items? Okay, so nothing immediate. Yeah, so I mean, I guess with the only thing I'd say around the parent awards, because I mean, I think the webinars and whatnot you've got lined up, that's been worked on for a little bit of time now, and I think you're well down the path there. As it comes to the awards, because I know it would seem we've got plenty of time, but then of course the time seems to evaporate. I would just want to be you know, super diligent on communication, you know, kind of instructions that we send out to the schools, to the councils for those nominations for awards. So just making sure that we've got that well in hand with the appropriate timeframes that you've got in mind there. So and again, it sounds like you're going to be collaborating with Nancy's office to help get that going. And I would say just for further representation from the overall committee, perhaps myself and or Jen to be involved as well. So please do include us in you know, any upcoming meetings or discussions of that nature. Fair enough, Alex?
That now that you mentioned that, I was going to propose that at some point, if this could become a subcommittee, so a couple of our Cpic members could focus just on that. We're trying to give it a head start, but maybe for the next year to make it really a subcommittee that can showcase it and, you know, like be able to organize it in a better way. So it's not like combining everything in one subcommittee, but opening more opportunities for others to bring their ideas too.
Yeah, that's something we could definitely discuss as we, you know, think about future committees and subcommittees. And I think for now, you treat it as an ad hoc committee. I mean, you've put a lot of the thought into it already. I think now it's unless, and again, you know what, I should put it out there. And again, it's a bit awkward because we don't have quorum, so we're not certainly not voting on anything here. But if anyone has any other any concerns about going out with these awards or any objections of any kind, you know, we definitely want to field those now, so that we can get anything like that addressed. Any concerns, or does anyone see a downside to any of this, or you know? So I mean, and so right, you know, inclusive right now, and I think before we launch, I think we do go to the whole committee, inclusive of those that are absent tonight, and just make sure we field for any you know, potential pitfalls or questions or concerns that people might have. I can't imagine what they are. In my mind, it's just about how do we communicate this very well, very clearly, especially when it comes to any kind of a nomination where you're putting forward people's names for something. We just want it to be crystal clear so that there's no confusion, which can sometimes lead to disappointment or upset at the on the other side of it if it doesn't go well, if you know what I mean. So I just wanted to run smooth and everyone's happy with the outcomes basically. So what can we do to make sure?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. And just before we send out any information to Nancy, I think we can prepare something and just send it to all the members of the committee. And just if we can have a conversation regarding that issue specifically in the next week, I think we will be more than pleasing to prepare something so everybody can have their input and see how people feel about it.
Yeah, that would be terrific. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, just to make sure we cover that off, and it's kind of a speak now or hold your peace kind of thing. So that'd be great. Okay. Okay. I think I don't see any other hands raised, so we'll move forward here. Okay. So, and again, thanks, Alex and committee. Great work. Lots of terrific stuff going on yours on all the subcommittees, frankly. So well done. Okay. As it relates to bylaws. Just bring up my notes here. So we did have a meeting since our last Cpic meeting, and we covered off a number of items. One of the most significant items that we will have to, I think, we'll have a discussion on it at a future meeting because, well, again, we can't make any decisions tonight regardless. But probably the number one item is on the composition of our membership. So at present, as you know, we have 2 representatives per geographic region, so Burlington, Oakville, and North Halton, and then we have 4 at-large members for a total of 10. From discussions stemming from last year that have kind of carried over into this year, we're going to be proposing a new structure that aligns a little more closely with how our trustees actually are set up, and that is to have 3 parent reps from each region. Again, 3 for Burlington, 3 for Oakville, 3 for North Halton, and leaving us with 1 at-large member. We had the discussion around the purpose of at-large members and questioning why do we have so many, and is that really necessary, with the end determination from the subcommittee being that we believed it made more sense to have greater region-specific representation and less at-large. However, we still would maintain the 1 at-large representative going forward. So that is probably the number one thing we had at the table. But again, I think we'll got a thumbs up there from Laura. Thanks, Laura. But I think we'll defer the discussion on that because that is something that we will have to vote on. So we'll have to wait till more of us are here to do that. And yeah, go ahead, Jen. Want to jump in?
Barry, I'm just thinking, I think we might have to hold a special meeting to get that vote in to be able to get the election information out on time. Because I believe we're supposed to release how many positions are available by region by March 1st, approximately. And I don't think we meet again until April. Actually, May right now. We're proposing to move it up to April. So I think we might have to hold a special meeting to get that vote in. Yeah,
you're correct. Yeah, we will. Okay, we'll have to do just that then. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. Sorry, just going back through my notes here. There's a bit of cleanup we need to do in terms of making sure our bylaws align to the new, the revised procedure as it relates to non-Catholic members. So if you recall, last year it was passed at the board that the previous state was that up to 2 members of Cpic could be non-Catholic. Now it is simply that a majority of parent members must be Catholic. So we need to update our bylaws to reflect that. So that really is just kind of an administrative change at this point. So we'll be going ahead with that. There was also a reference to the chair's term being extended in certain situations. That's another item that we're proposing to amend. But again, will require some further discussion, and it'll require a majority vote to pass. So again, we'll defer that. And just cleaning up a little bit of language here and there, just for consistency. So that's where we are. That's at this point, folks. The kind of the high level highlights of the last bylaw meeting. So I'll leave it there for now, because as I say, the items that we want to move forward are going to require a vote. Alex, go ahead.
Sorry, Gary, if you can repeat that. So you said that regarding the non-Catholic members, it was up to 2 members. Now it says the majority must be Catholic. How would that look like? Like, so if we have a representation of 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 parents, right? 13 parents. How would that look like? Like, what do you mean by a majority? A certain number.
So it's 10 parent members.
Yes.
10 parent members. So so at least 6 would have to be Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, this is simply to align with the procedure that was amended at the board last year.
Okay. No, I just want.
And the same applies to the school councils as well.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I just wanted to know how it looked like at Civic. Thank you.
Yeah. In practical terms, that's what it looked like, unless the number of our members changed, and of course it would change accordingly. But simple majority is what was decided. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions about bylaws? No. Okay. Very well. So let's move on to our board committee updates, and we'll start off with. And I thought did I not see Jordan? I thought Jordan was on the call. I don't see Jordan now, so we'll have to defer that update. De-streaming and equity audit, Jen?
Sure. So for the equity audit, there is no update. We have not met again. I have reached out to Trustee Guzzo to see when that will be starting up again, but no update on that. With respect to de-streaming, we have, I think I mentioned at the last update that we've broken out into 3 subgroups, 3 different goals. I'll kind of read through what we're working on with some of those goals. So the first one is cultural shifts to identify and dismantle systemic discrimination and structural inequities. And what they're working on right now is gathering information. So through the student census, through the school climate survey, the EQA student survey data, they're looking at working with student senate and student trustees to engage them to get the student voice represented, as well as the Equity Community Advisory Group, which is supposed to be starting up this month. The second goal of the committee is to increase educator capacity for effective, culturally responsive instruction, assessment, and evaluation in de-streamed multi-level classrooms. And within that subgroup, there was a survey of teachers who taught the de-streamed math in the first quadrimester to determine which supports and resources are needed for the program to move forward. They're going to be doing some further teacher PD for the secondary teachers. And they're doing some work with secondary subject councils, developing writing teams to support all the grade 9 de-stream courses, which was announced a little while ago, that all of grade 9, English, science, geography, French, I believe, will be de-streamed next year. The third goal of the committee was to increase student engagement, achievement, and well-being. And what we're working on in that subgroup is doing some cross-panel collaboration with grade 9 teachers and elementary teachers, doing some resource development for pathways itinerants to understand what de-streaming is and better prepare parents and students, and some PD to help intermediate teachers understand how their recommendations impact pathways to post-secondary education. So that's it for de-streaming. M is coming to our Cpic council chair meeting later this month to do a presentation on de-streaming for the council chairs.
All right, terrific. Thanks, Jen. Appreciate the update. Alex, bullying awareness.
Thank you. So I had a very interesting conversation with Superintendent Cordero, who heads this committee, and we will be meeting in the next month. At the end of March, we will be receiving the agenda. It was very interesting to see how this is a subcommittee made out of 12 people, 3 students, trustees from grade, some student trustees from grade 12, a grade 9 and a grade 7, and 1 vice principal, 1 teacher of special needs, 2 superintendents, 1 trustee, the chief of social work, the chief of mental health, and 2 parents. And the way they will try for all of us to meet mid-April, hopefully in person in the board. And the idea of this committee is really to have a standing committee with initiatives, ideas, proposals to better address the issues of respect to bullying, interventions to better educate our students, staff, and family. And we're looking forward to put some measures in place, right, to better address those who are victimized and progressive for the victims, and just to try to get this bully prevention and intervention plan really off, following all the Ministry of Education guidelines. So once we get together, I will be giving you an update. The idea of this meeting is to determine our mandate, our goals, what we want to achieve, and what we should do in order to get this committee very functional. So, yeah, that's from my.
Okay, thank you, Alex. All right. Okay, the next couple, human trafficking and homeschool parish partnership. Our representative member there is Violetta. Of course, she gave her regrets for tonight. So we'll defer those updates to our next meeting. And likewise with the Walk with Jesus, Tiana's not on the call, so we'll defer. Okay, so just doing time check here, so 1:15. Now, so discussion items, the parent survey. You know, Alex, in your earlier update, you provide us a good update there as to in terms of what the subcommittee is proposing with the parent survey, so this is the opportunity granted, and unfortunately, folks, we are down to 4 parent representatives here this evening. However, this is an open forum discussion for all members of the committee, not just for the parents. So let's see what we can have here around the parent survey. So again, Alex, perhaps Andrea, if I can ask you to bring up the slide again from Alex's earlier presentation, the one specific to the parent survey, just so we can all see again what they're proposing. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so with what Alex already presented and what we see here before us in terms of what they're thinking, again, I open this up to the broad community, or sorry, committee, for questions, thoughts around the parent survey, or the proposed parent survey. Would anyone like to jump in with thoughts, questions, ideas, just again to further build on to what the subcommittee's already started here? I think one thing to mention, because we did have an offline discussion about this since the subcommittee meeting. A couple of discussions that have taken place, and so what our understanding is that, in fact, when it comes to putting a survey out to stakeholders within the board, is that there actually is an area within the board. I believe it's a research area, Nancy, if I'm not mistaken, that would actually work with us work with the subcommittee to formulate the survey. Surveys have to be constructed in particular ways, and the questions there's kind of a right way and a wrong way to formulate questions for surveys, different forms of survey question types, and these are the kinds of things that the trained and capable folks in the research area would lend their expertise to. So we're not left to have to craft the survey ourselves. So that's probably important to know. The subcommittee did take a crack at formulating some survey questions, and I think they probably provide a bit of background and insight as to what they want to accomplish with the survey, but they wouldn't be the survey questions themselves. So just wanted to share that piece, because that's a fairly important piece as to how the survey gets formulated.
Gary, if I can clarify just something. So what we did at the subcommittees, we made like a little skeleton of what it would be. We named it from parent to parent, just because we want to point out that it's not a survey from the board, but it's parents wanted to hear from the other parents. What we were hoping is we can determine what region each parent from, how many children they have in the system, and what grades are their children, right? And having all the options open to know from kindergarten to grade 12, and be able to know if some of these parents also have children that have graduated from the system, and kind of build a database for us to know, okay, which is what do parents at each age level or at each course would like to see in parent engagement. When we were talking about the items for the survey, we were talking about governance, accessibility, openness, participation, and vision of the future. I don't want to read everything because it's a lot, and the questions can be worded in a very different way. I think we have a general idea of what we have to ask. It would be sitting together to work together with Nancy or with Andrea or whoever at the board level can guide us. Really, we hope that through this survey, we can see how parents look at Cpic, if they really understand the presence that we have, and how we can fortify that. We can help the parents know what they understand, what parent engagement is at the school level, but also at the board level, how Cpic is a committee made from the parents to serve the community in the best way possible. So I don't know if we can send all this information to all the Cpic members, and then have a little bit of a deeper discussion where people can bring their ideas, see if they want to add any questions, change anything. Like all these things that we've presented from subcommittee is waiting for the input of every member of Cpic, because all these initiatives, it's important that we have the perspective of everybody. So
yep, exactly. Yep, hence why we have it on the agenda for tonight. But Nancy, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Jerry. And Alex, your intention here is good. It's really good. We do have some surveys that we've done at the system level that may get some of this information. So for example, we did a school climate survey last year, okay? the thing is, it was at the time when we were in school closure and things like that, or remote learning. I think what you have here is there's a lot of information here. I would only do this together with the guidance of research, rather, because, or else we'll either get, we won't get active participation. And then if we don't get a lot of parents responding to the survey, the data is not going to be useful to us. And if there's too many questions, I don't know if we're going to get the sort of what you really want. So I think it's important that, yes, give it to Cpic right now so they have some time to look through what it is that you're asking of them. And then we have a meeting together with research on how and what's a good timing for this. There's a lot of surveying going out to parents right now. So we want to make sure the timing of it is appropriate so that we do have a lot of engagement if this is something that Cpic feels is important for the committee to move forward with.
Yeah, and we agree 100% with what you're saying. We know the times that we're going through, and we just want to make this survey a kind of a priority, because we really want to reach the parents, parent to parent, not only through the school councils, but there's no rush. Like we know timing is everything. So we'll just wait to be which is the best moment to address the parent community. But we want, if we address the parent community, we just want to have we have one golden opportunity to do it. So we want to get the best out of it. So it would be great if we can work together and see what the other Civic members think about this, and then sit with research and just narrow down exactly what the questions would be.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I guess what I would say to that, Alex, is exactly that. Narrow it down, because just to echo a little bit of what Nancy's saying, if we try to do too much in it, I think we'll lose our audience. We won't get the participation we want. So, you know, and limiting the number of questions. And again, I would look to the professionals in the research area to help guide that as to what's, you know, kind of, you know, optimal in terms of number of questions, type of questions, and the format of the survey. And then help us formulate the best questions to get what we really want out of it or need out of it. And yeah, and then if there's information to be gleaned from past you know surveys or data gathering, then let's look to that too. And I'm assuming, Nancy, that they'd be able to guide us with that as well.
Yeah, they would, Jerry. And so that, I think your starting point, Alex, is yes, send this to Cpic ahead of the next meeting so that everyone has an opportunity to look at all the questions, so that as a group you decide what's the most important information here that you want to bring, and then we'll set up a meeting with research so that they can help guide us in terms of where we may already have some data that we could use, or what would be in a good time frame. And the time frame may not be till May or June, it may be September. Okay, so let's let research guide us on to how they can support us with this, and what's the right time to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have comments or questions? Okay, I'll take that as a no. All right, very good. We'll circle back with that. We'll share additionally out to the broader community or broader committee, and solicit any further input. And then I think from there, the next step, of course, would be to engage with research and start that process. Fair enough, Alex? Okay, silence is golden. All right. Okay, so procedure bylaw change regarding Cpic members. Yeah, and again, as mentioned, just given the lack of parent representation here, parent member representation here tonight, we'll defer that and likely be a special meeting that we'll have to hold for that. Okay. We also were chatting, myself, Jen, Nancy, about our upcoming Council of Chairs meeting, and we were looking to change the date, to move the date, just recognizing that we had some stuff that was they were rather close together in terms of dates. And remind me, Jen, Nancy, when were we proposing to move that to?
So we had 2 council chairs meeting booked, one for April, or sorry, yeah, one for April, one for May. And we were not meeting again as a committee until May. So we're proposing to take the April council chair meeting and change it into just the Cpic meeting. Because I don't think we have enough material for 2 more council chairs meetings this year anyways.
Right. And that if we felt we did, if things changed and we felt we did want to have another council chairs, that we could schedule that for closer to the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's just too far to go from now until May to our next meeting. There's too many initiatives underway. I think we need to get an April meeting in.
Agreed. So that's, yeah. And again, we don't have enough committee here to vote on this. I don't know that we need to vote on it.
I don't think we need to vote on a date change.
No, I don't think so. And recognizing too that we actually at the outset of the year had elected to put forward 4 dates for 4 council of chairs meetings, when in fact our bylaws call for 3. Normally, we had put an extra one in. Just looking back to last year, because we had an abundance of topics to cover in council chairs meetings, and we frankly ran short on time more than once. So that was kind of the motivation behind that in the first place. But we find ourselves in a different situation now. So I think, folks, we'll go ahead with and we'll communicate that change, because I think to the point made, there's a lot going on at this table, and we'll be able to use that meeting probably more effectively. So we'll simply communicate the date change and the meeting change to all the committee. Okay. All right, and so item number 7, action item. Maria is not present, so we will defer this item. Moving on to number 8, other business and future agenda items. Does anyone have anything they would like to raise now for future agenda items? Okay, and of course, as always, we'll reach back out to the entire committee before our next meeting. Okay, incredibly, it's 8:31, and we're finishing pretty much bang on time. So, closing prayer. Vince, Monaco, if you wouldn't mind doing the honors.
Thanks, Jerry. Please join me in a sign of our faith. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. This is a prayer to end racism. O Lord, our God, in your mercy and kindness, no thought of ours is left unnoticed, no desire or concern ignored. You have proven that blessings abound when we fall on our knees in prayer, and so we turn to you in our hour of need. Surrounded by violence and cries for justice, we hear your voice telling us what is required, only to do justice and to love goodness and to walk humbly with your God. Fill us with your mercy so that we in turn may be merciful to others. Strip away pride, suspicion, and racism so that we may seek peace and justice in our communities. Strengthen our hearts so that they beat only to the rhythm of your holy will. Flood our path with your light as we walk humbly toward a future filled with encounter and unity. Be with us, O Lord, in our efforts, for only by the prompting of your grace can we progress towards virtue. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right, thank you, Vince. Lovely choice for closing prayer. All right, folks, that brings us to a conclusion for this meeting, Cpic meeting for February 7th. Thank you all again for your attendance and participation, and have a good night, and we'll see you all soon.